12th grade dean at the Bullis School. Also, a fun fact is that she played basketball at Duke. So let's welcome Kira.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to join you for my first Friday. And I just wanted to express my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you and the work you do and allowing me to join your Stokes family.
Thank you, Kira. Okay, today our time is limited and we have a lot of things to get to. Just a couple of housekeeping things. We're going to record the presentation, and if you do not want to be on video, please feel free to turn off your video. The directors of teaching and learning, Ms. Burrington from the East End campus and Senora Costanza from Brooklyn campus will be monitoring the chat. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat and they will answer the question. And also at the end of the presentation, there will be some time for questions. We are also collecting questions from the chat, and if there is anything that is unanswered, we will send responses at a later date. Okay, and finally, today's slide deck will be shared later and the recording will be available on the school website. At Stokes, our students engage in mindful moments throughout the day. I'd like for us to start with one. Please close your eyes or take your eyes away from the screen and just take a couple of deep breaths. As you breathe, try and clear your mind. Think of your child. Think about what makes them special, their abilities, their quirks. Now think about your hopes and dreams for them. I'm sure there are many. Try to pick one hope and dream you have for them at school. Now I'd like for you to open your eyes and please share your hope or dream. You can unmute yourself or just put it in the chat and I'll read them as they come. So feel free to unmute yourself and share that hope and dream, or if you'd rather put it in the chat, go ahead and do that. Endless curiosity.
Her fun. Yeah. I don't mind sharing live. If that's okay.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. You can put it in chat. Yeah.
Put it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, love of learning. Or if you want to keep that hope and dream private, you can as well. Absolutely. I have love of learning.
Much of love. Another day.
I didn't catch that one. Did someone else catch that one?
Love for learning.
Love for learning. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my main objective for today is to provide an overview of the instructional program so there is a better understanding of what grounds our instruction and what happens during specific content areas. I'll also briefly share how you can support at home. The Stokes School mission is to prepare culturally diverse preschool and elementary school students in the District of Columbia to be leaders, scholars, and responsible citizens who are committed to social justice. We teach children to think, speak, read, write, and learn in two languages, English and French, or French and Spanish, and English and Spanish. With a dual focus on academic excellence and community service, the Stokes School accomplishes its mission by creating an environment of achievement, respect, and nonviolence. We fulfill this mission in many ways, one of which is with our instruction. The following are our instructional anchors. As an IB school, we follow the primary years program, the PYP framework. The framework allows for opportunities to develop both disciplinary and interdisciplinary understanding of standards, and offers content that is broad and balanced, conceptual and connected. Students use their initiative to take responsibility and ownership of their learning. By learning through inquiry and reflecting on their own learning, PYP students develop knowledge, conceptual understanding, skills, and attributes of the IB learner profile so they can make a difference in their lives, their communities, and beyond. As a DC public charter school, we follow the standards set forth by OSCE, as you can see on the slide. And finally, we use the principles of responsive classroom and restorative practices as a foundation for classroom and school culture and behavior management. Our school day begins with morning meeting or morning circle, right after morning lineup. It's an engaging way to start each day to build a strong sense of community and set children up for success socially, emotionally, and academically. Each morning, students and teachers gather together in a circle for 20 to 30 minutes and interact with each other during 4 purposeful components. Students begin with a greeting and greet one another by name. The greeting is followed by a share and then a group activity. These 2 parts are important because students hear from each other and it helps build classroom community. The final component is a morning message written by the teachers, which sets the tone and the expectations for students for the day. Morning meeting is especially important for target language teachers because it starts the immersion experience for students. So here you can see some pictures from morning meeting. I'd like for you to think about the components of the morning meeting that I just shared. What component do you see here in the pictures? So here, you may have been thinking a share, the top, the photos that you see on the top left, and then on the right in the middle, we have students engaging in a share. And here at the bottom is a video of a group activity where students are singing a song in Spanish about the weather. Peace of Mind is a social emotional curriculum that integrates mindfulness practice and brain science as the foundation for weekly lessons in social emotional learning, conflict resolution, and social justice. Students become more mindful of their social emotional state and are able to become more independent communicators and problem solvers. You may have heard your child say, "I'm going to take 5 or practice some flower breaths." This is from the Peace of Mind curriculum. And the Peace of Mind curriculum is taught from grades pre-K all the way to 5th grade. So here we have on the left a picture of students in a Peace of Mind lesson. We have Señora Karina teaching the lesson. And the other 2 pictures are of students practicing the mindful moment breathing of taking 5.
Appelle breathing breath.
No, finger breath.
Ah, comme ça, tu comptes les doigts?
No, slap.
Oui, ça c'est les doigts. Ah, comme ça.
You calibrate.
Ah, la respiration comme ça.
Raise your finger.
Très bien. Qui autre fait quelque chose pour se concentrer? Quand tu...
And yes, Peace of Mind is taught in French and Spanish. The first content area I'll discuss are the units of inquiry. A unit of inquiry is a unit developed collaboratively across campuses, both campuses, by teachers following the PYP framework and the essential elements. In a U of I, students participate in learning experience related to a transdisciplinary theme. The themes are explored using knowledge and skills from the subject areas, math, English, science, social studies, target language, and specials, which are grounded in the standards. For grades K through 5, there are 6 units for the year, 2 units per trimester, each unit about 6 weeks, and they are taught in English and the target language. In pre-K, there are 4 units for the year, 3 in the target language, which is 1 per trimester, and then there's a year-long unit in English. If you would like more information about IB, we did a First Friday this year. Miss Rebecca presented, and the recording is on the website. So this slide and the next are images of students engaged in units of inquiry. As you can see, the units are designed to be inquiry-based, student-led, and encourage student collaboration in partnerships or groups. I'm going to show you a quick video of the 4th grade class. They're learning about circuits.
Oh my god, it works! Okay, ready? I want to put the wires in there. Okay.
As you can see, the kids get really excited doing and learning about new things. And here we see some student work, which is absolutely phenomenal. When you come back and look at the presentation, please, I encourage you to look really closely at the student work here. On the left, we have images that first grade students created on their unit of Indigenous cultures. And on the right, we have Post-it notes of the 2nd grade students' thoughts on the question, what is matter? Students wrote their thoughts before and after a learning experience. We also have a student posting the I see thoughts in French as part of the thinking routine. I see, I think, and I wonder. And in the top middle, we have the 4th graders who had a presentation from our founder, Miss Moore, related to their migration unit. And at the bottom left, we see a 1st grade student during a celebration of learning, during a celebration of learning, sharing their learning of the unit to parents. Here at Stokes, we have many special things, and one of them is our specials. We offer daily specials to our students in all grades. Pre-K attend either art or music daily for 30 minutes. Students in grades K through 5 attend PE and either art or music daily for 40 minutes. That's 80 minutes of specials daily, Monday through Thursday for grades K through 5. And on Fridays, there's only one special class of 40 minutes for those grades. PE, art, and music teachers plan their learning experiences using the DC Health Education and Physical Education and Arts Education learning standards and the units of inquiry. PE has 4 units. They have personal, social, and physical education, a movement unit, teamwork, and a health unit that is year-long and taught on a specific day. Art and music teach content with focus topics which are related to events in the school, grade level units of inquiry, specific artists or skills, which are guided by the essential elements from their year-long unit. And here we have our students in specials. The top left picture, we see students performing during a celebration of learning, a song that they practiced in music. The top middle photo is our pre-K students engaging in song and dance. And the bottom left photo and far right photo are of students of a student working independently in art, and then the other is of a group project. And here in the bottom middle, we have a video of students warming up in PE. You might be thinking that's quite the warm-up, right? Running all the way from one end of the field to the other, but it is a warm-up indeed. Our pre-K program is play-based, where students are encouraged to explore, create, and wonder. Teachers create learning experiences grounded in the DC Early Learning Standards and the units of inquiry for the year. Students interact with the content in read-alouds, whole group, and small group instruction and centers. There are 3 target language units of inquiry for the year, 1 each trimester and 1 year-long unit in English. The current TL unit is modes of transportation, which is tied to the transdisciplinary theme, where we are in place and time. And the English year-long unit is emotions, from the transdisciplinary theme, how we express ourselves. Here we have some pre-K pictures. The top 2 photos are of students in centers. We have some handwriting practice, blocks, and imaginative play. We also see here a whole group lesson on the bottom left on the number 13 in French. The bottom middle photo and the photo on the far right are of students working on their summative assessment. They're creating the different environments for the different modes of transportations that they will build. And the transportations are for the sky, the road, and water. So the next slides that I'm going to talk about are going to be for grades K through 5. For English language arts, we follow the grade level expectations set forth by the Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts and the units of study from Teachers College, which are aligned to the Common Core Standards for English Language Arts. Additionally, our teachers also incorporate the essential elements and the content from the current unit of inquiry in their language arts instruction. The curriculum emphasizes key instructional methods such as inquiry, demonstration, guided practice, assessment, and feedback, and they're designed to support each other and may relate in content at times. So for example, students who may be working on a nonfiction unit in reading may also be writing an informational piece in writing. The curricula teaches towards independence across the year and up the grade levels. Students learn to self-assess, set goals to excel, work wisely with partners, explain ongoing work to the teacher, and receive and apply feedback. Most importantly, the habits of reading and writing are emphasized a lot in every grade and in every unit. We want our students to become lifelong readers and writers. The phonics curriculum for grades K through 2 is explicit and systematic instruction of foundational skills. The reading curriculum is for grades K through 5. This year, we are using the newly updated curriculum for grades K to 2, which includes all of the science of reading research, research in reading comprehension, language research, and knowledge generation. It also includes a phonological awareness strand for the year, and all the prompting start with phonics with unknown words. In the writing curriculum, students learn how to write 3 genres: narrative, information or explanatory, and opinion or argument writing. We're planning to update the writing curriculum for grades K to 2, which will be released this summer, and that new curriculum also includes the science of reading and integrates instruction to support phonics, spelling, and grammar. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to share an overview of the instructional block for language arts and the writers workshop. So here, these there's a lot of information here, and so I'm gonna try to summarize that, and just know you will get the presentation later, so you'll be able to go into further detail. So here's an outline of a typical English language arts block for grades K through 2. The language arts block begins with a phonological awareness extension. This is where the teacher will have whole group instruction on a specific phonemic awareness or phonological skill. An example could be, all right, students, today we're going to stretch a word with our arm and we're going to try to catch the first sound of the word. So let's practice together. The word dog. D, g, d. So that would be an activity, for example, that students may practice, right? And here they're practicing isolating initial sounds. After the phonological awareness extension, students begin reading workshop. During this block of time, the teacher teaches a whole group mini lesson of a reading strategy or skill. After the mini lesson, students will have a mix of small group instruction, reading independently, or they are on an online adaptive platform. Teachers are either teaching a small group or they're conferencing with a student. Afterwards, students will have partner reading, where they take turns reading with a partner. During that time, teachers are circulating, taking notes, and conferring with partnerships. The reading workshop ends with a share. If needed, the teacher may address a misconception she observed, and it is also an opportunity for students to celebrate and share the work they did that day. The last part of the language arts block, students have phonics, which is whole group instruction of a specific foundational skill, and students practice the skill in and out of context. So here we have a typical English language arts block for grades 3 to 5. It's the language arts block begins with reading workshop. It's very similar to the structure of the for grades K through 2nd. The teacher will begin with a whole group mini lesson of a reading strategy or skill. After the mini lesson, students will have a mix of small group instruction, reading independently, or on an online adaptive platform. Teachers are either teaching a small group or conferring with a student. The reading workshop ends with a share, and if needed, the teacher will address a misconception if observed. And it's also an opportunity for students to celebrate and share the work they did that day. The last part of the language arts block, students have read aloud, which is a whole group reading of a complex text and group discussion centered on that text. Students love read aloud. It's an opportunity for them to go deep into a story, talk about the characters, talk about the theme that they've been reading together as a class. And here we have the writer's workshop, which again also follows a similar structure as the reading workshop. The teacher will teach a whole group mini lesson of a writing strategy or skill. After the mini lesson, students will either be in small group, working independently, or in conferences. Teachers will either be in a small group with students or there will be conferencing with students. And the writing workshop ends with a share. A teacher, if needed, will address any misconceptions that they observed. And also it's an opportunity for students to celebrate and share the work that they did that day. I know I said a mouthful in the last 3 slides about what happens during language arts, and here are some pictures of students engaged in language arts and also the writing workshop. So here on the top middle, we have a student during writer's workshop, and in the top right and the bottom middle, students are in a reading workshop and they are in small groups, as you can see, and then here on the bottom right, students are in phonics and they are engaged in a whole body phonics activity. And this video over here is a treat. It's a video of students in partner reading.
We found this. We found Dig. Now we have 3 boys. See? Dig. Oh yeah. Are you wearing kids? Mom and I mopped and mopped. Because of the dirty messes. Is it okay?
I'm going to pause for just a second because I see that there's a question from Rebecca and I want to address it right there. So yes, Rebecca, we are aware that the curriculum has received criticism because of the prompting that they had before. And so the curriculum has been revised, as you know, and it includes the sciences of reading. We, you know, it's really, they added that phonological awareness and phonemic awareness strand, which is really important. And so that's happening. They have also all the prompting, they're really tying it to phonics, whereas before they were asking for like meaning or context of the overall comprehension of the book. And the reason why we really do love this curriculum is because it is very much student-centered. Students take a lot of agency in their reading, and also it's a very UDL approach to learning where students are able have many different opportunities to engage and in reading and in writing and different ways of how to express their learning. And we can talk more about that too at another time, but I just wanted to address that part. And then what goes into how teachers pair students for partner reading? There is a lot of factors that go into partner reading. You know, it really depends on what the focus is. It may be, they may be working on a specific, let's say they're working on CVC words. So they may just heterogeneously pair students by CVC, right? If they're working on a specific comprehension skill, they'll pair like that. They may also pair by the same where the abilities are as well. It just really depends on what the focus is for that day and the work that they're doing. I'm going to go on to the next slide. All right, target language arts instruction. It's important to know that the target language is not just taught during a block of time. It's full immersion. So when it is a target language day, students are fully immersed in either Spanish or French. Our French and Spanish teachers aim to establish, protect, and maintain the immersive environment, build language acquisition through meaningful context and purpose. Students work from a context and work for a purpose. And they aim to help students find reasons to love and live the language. They do this by designing appropriate differentiated learning experiences to teach content through language using comprehensible input. Target language teachers follow the ACT-TOEFL can-do statements to determine a student's language progression, make instructional decisions, and plan learning across the different communication domains: interpersonal, interpretive, presentational, and intercultural. Target language art units are created using the can-do statements while addressing the DC standards and are also aligned to the units of inquiry. New to this year at Stokes is the AIM curriculum for grades K through 2. The AIM curriculum is authentic learning centered on a text. Teachers use scaffolding techniques such as storytelling, gestures, active collaboration, and repetition. High frequency vocabulary is introduced with gestures and then contextualized in stories, drama, songs, and dance. And this allows students to rapidly achieve levels of oral and written proficiency. The AIM block replaced the writing workshop block in grades K through 2 because students need to develop their oral proficiency and vocabulary in order to write in the target language. This doesn't mean that students aren't writing in these grades. They are in target language arts, during AIM, math, and units of inquiry. It's just not in the context of a writer's workshop with a structured curriculum. The writing curriculum, grades 3 to 5, is similar to what English teachers use. Students learn how to write 3 genres: narrative, information or explanatory, and opinion or argument writing. Our TL teachers adapt the units so they are integrated with the unit of inquiry. So target language teachers use the target language arts block to extend the U of I block and bolster language acquisition and literacy in the target language. A typical target language arts block begins with the teachers teaching a whole group mini lesson of a new skill or topic. After the lesson, students will either engage in a whole class activity, some independent work, or partner or group activity. Teachers are either working in small groups or they're circulating and supporting students with their work. And then afterwards, there is a share. A teacher may address a misconception, and students celebrate and share the work that they do. As I mentioned earlier, the AIM curriculum is taught for grades K through 2. AIM is designed for very rapid language acquisition for novice learners. The instruction is a mixture of comprehensible inputs, choral repetition, and phased transfer of language, which means first in the context of an activity, and then it's extended into new or novel situations with the end goal of students internalizing the TL and using it naturally. A typical AIM lesson begins with an entering routine that encourages students to speak the target language. Then teachers teach whole group instruction of new gestures, games, songs, or phrases to students. Afterwards, students interact in partnerships or in groups, speaking, reading, and writing the target language. All the activities build up to a final performance for the unit in the target language. At the end, there's a leaving routine for students that encourages them to speak in the target language. Those of you in the younger grades have probably seen your child practice the gestures, sing a song, or even came to one of the final performances. Right. The target language writing workshop follows a similar structure to the English writing workshop, and this is for grades 3 to 5. The teacher teaches a whole group mini lesson of a writing strategy or skill. After the mini lessons, students have a mix of small group instruction, independent writing, or conferences. At that time, teachers are either teaching a small group or they're conferencing with a student. The writing workshop ends with a share. If needed, a teacher may address a misconception they observed during that time. And it is also an opportunity for students to celebrate and share the work they did that day. Again, the writing units are adapted to the unit of inquiry and students. So here we have some pictures of our students immersed in the target language. We have on the left an AIM group activity that prepared the students for their final performance. They created some popsicle puppets and are practicing the skit. On the bottom left is of the students performing to their parents and to some other students. The student work in the bottom middle is in Spanish about the Mayans from a unit of inquiry lesson. And on the bottom right, we have a student conferencing with a teacher during writer's workshop. And we have students on the top right in target language arts. And here I have a video of students in the top middle.
C'est trop. Oui, Théo, tu veux être
And here we have some more pictures of target language arts and AIM. The top left picture and middle pictures are of students during AIM. We have the group practicing. In the top middle, the teacher is teaching the students new gestures. And as you can see, they're also practicing the new gestures and the vocabulary. The top right picture is of students during research related to their unit of inquiry in target language arts. The bottom corner pictures are during the writer's workshop. And the bottom middle photo, we have a student in an upper grade reading with students in the lower grades in Spanish. I'd like for you to think about your own learning experience, learning language arts or language in elementary school. And if you can unmute yourself or share in the chat, how is Stokes' approach similar or different?
I don't know what y'all approach is.
Can you say?
Maribel, can you repeat the question? Can you repeat
Yes,
the question?
absolutely. How is Stokes' approach similar or different from your experience learning language arts or a language in elementary school?
I didn't learn one in elementary school.
Have here much more collaborative.
I didn't learn. Hi, this is Trevor. I didn't learn another language other than English when I was in elementary school, but I know when I was learning my French, the immersion piece I think is very good. You know, that everybody's trying to do it and sharing in the same struggle of trying to learn more than one language, and I think that that's very helpful to, you know, to see other people, other students try and learn a second language.
Thank you, Mr. Trevor.
I have in the chat here, my elementary school has a much stronger focus on teaching foundational skills in early grades so that by the time students were in 5th and 6th grade, we were already good readers and writers and knew our math facts very well. We also had very good handwriting and better fine motor skills. I also have here, when I was writing, spelling and handwriting was really important growing up. And now my kids do invented spelling and handwriting is not emphasized. Is there anything else that people would like to share before I go on? Vocabulary lists. We were learning French and Latin and algebra. I also learned, well, I learned Latin, I guess, in middle school, so not elementary school. Wow. Okay. Spelling lists and tests, more focus on writing. Okay, for math, we follow the grade level expectations set forth by the Common Core state standards for mathematics and Investigation 3 math, which is a curriculum that is fully aligned to the content and practice standards of the Common Core state standards. The Investigations 3 curriculum is an inquiry-based approach to mathematics that promotes thinking and reasoning. Making sense of mathematics is the heart of the work for students and teachers. The curriculum allows students to explore mathematical ideas to develop understanding and fluency. It promotes active learning and collaboration. Students solve problems in more than one way, and they are encouraged to explain and justify their reasoning. During independent learning and in small groups with their teachers, students receive in-the-moment feedback that addresses areas of misconception, and this helps our students to become resilient, self-directed learners that enjoy learning math. We want our students to think of themselves as mathematicians. We want them to learn how to know. We want them to understand the process and the concept with what they need to know, the content and the accuracy, and to be critical and flexible thinkers. The math block begins with classroom routines and a 10-minute math. During this time, teachers offer either skill building, practice, and a review of key mathematical ideas. Students practice strategies for mental computation and problem solving from previous units. The bulk of time is spent in either math activity, math workshop, or discussion. Depending on the lesson for the day, there is a configuration of either of these three things. It could be all three, it could be 2 math activities and 1 discussion, or just a math workshop. It just really depends on the lesson. During the math activity, the teachers introduce a new idea or concept and students investigate it by either completing work as a class, in partnerships, small groups, or individually. During a math workshop, which is a structure that allows students to work on a variety of related activities During math workshop is a classroom structure that allows students to work on a variety of related activities from previous math sessions. During a math workshop, students choose from those set of activities. They work individually, in partnerships, or in small groups. Teachers during these times will circulate and provide feedback to students. The block ends with a daily practice, which is a practice page from the investigations workbook. The practice page provides reinforcement of the session's content and or review of a previously covered topics. And when students are completing that daily practice, teachers are also circulating and providing students with feedback. And so here we have some pictures of students in math. The strategies you see here, the students that you see here by the board are showing their strategy of how to solve a problem to the rest of the class. This is one way that the class will engage in a group discussion. We also have 2 pictures over here on the far right and on the bottom left of students using connecting cubes to complete the daily practice work. The top middle picture, we see student partnerships playing a game with 10 frames and on the rug with math cards. I'd like for you to take a moment and think of how you could review or practice. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Let me try again. So I'd like for you guys to I'd like for everyone here to take a moment and think about how you can review or practice math with your child at home. And feel free to unmute or type in the chat.
For me, it would be incorporating my prince into our shopping experience more. Not just him pointing out what he wants or just putting it in the cart, but the whole amount of like the fact of paying for it and stuff like that. And also with baking as well and cooking.
With the cooking, I had done that with my son, who's only 5, and he had asked a lot of questions like, well, if I wanted to make 8, what would I do? And it was really a really great, rich discussion in the context. And so that's a really great suggestion about using math during grocery shopping or when you're cooking or following recipes.
In places like Target and like their dollar spot section, they have some cool things periodically. We got something for like fractions. So it gave like how you write the fraction, how it is in a circle, like based on a pizza pie and percentage and stuff like that. So just having those aids around the house too help.
That's great.
Just dropped a link to this thing called Bedtime Math in the chat. And it's an organization and they publish books and they also have an app and games and things like that that you can play. And so my daughter and I used to read, we alternated like a story and then a bedtime math story every day when she was younger. And they're just like real world, silly, really kid-friendly problems, math problems that they can address from various different points of access. And I love them. I think they're wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that. I also have in the chat here, I know other families have used tutors for Russian math to help supplement. There's a link there, mathschool.com. Baking and cooking as well for us and buying items on Amazon with their own money. Oh, that's a good way to show how to budget or save. How much more do you need? We played a lot of board games when the kids were younger. Using dice helped them with early addition. Absolutely. That's great. Something else that I've been doing with my little young one is in the car, just doing silly little math word problems, but using family members in those word problems have also been engaging as well. Playing Monopoly. I have a comprehensive set of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division flashcards so that my child can quickly know their math facts. I'm not opposed to different strategies for thinking about math, but by the time students are in upper elementary grades, they will suffer if they cannot quickly compute basic math facts in their heads. Okay, anyone else want to unmute and share? I'm going to go to the next. Pivoting to coming up with more hands-on math learning games. Absolutely. Okay. So here with school support, the goal is to ensure that every student receives the support. Oh, let me pause. I have one more in the chat. Classic games like chess and backgammon. Thank you. So school support, the goal is to ensure every student receives the support they need to reach their full potential in school. These are our in-house support for students. We offer support with English language learning. We have a multidisciplinary team of teachers, SST coordinator, dean of students, school counselor, family engagement coordinator, and families that work together to provide academic and behavioral support to students. And our special education department offers a full continuum of SPED services. So now we're going to talk briefly about just home support, and also we have some great suggestions here as well. So here are some ways that you can support at home. Teachers send a weekly classroom newsletter, which is a great source of information of what is happening in the classroom. Parent Square is our hub to communicate with families, and there are posts. For example, Ms. Kay at East End posts math newsletter. At the end of every trimester, teachers provide activities during parent-teacher conference or APTT. These activities are a great way to practice additional skills. With AIM, ask your child what gestures, songs, or plays they have learned and engage in it with them. The best thing for target language is to learn, love, and live it. Show enthusiasm and model language learning in French or Spanish alongside with your child. Read the Investigation 3 unit letters that are sent home. It provides an overview of the unit students are learning, as well as suggestions of games and activities to do at home. The Math Words and Ideas link is from our curriculum, and it covers the vocabulary and concepts taught in class in a short video. It's a great way to better understand how students are learning the specific content, the specific topics. The Math Games link is also from our curriculum, and they're online games similar to the ones played in the classroom. For every unit of inquiry, a U of I parent letter is sent. Read it so you can connect and extend the learning in the classroom to daily activities or family outings. Important to learning is connecting it to the real world and finding opportunities and experiences to connect your child's learning and to be inquisitive with them. Finally, each campus has online platforms. Easton has iExcel for reading and math, and Brooklyn has Dreambox for math and Amplify for reading. If screen time is something that you do at home, then have them do an online platform. And if there are any, I would love to open the mic for parents to share or type in the chat of some other things that they do at home to support their child. I have here someone else added, I also love this game for practicing math facts and strategies.
Maribel, there is a question in the chat. I think my computer is making the noise, but there is a question on the chat, in the chat.
Why each the different platforms per campus?
We have the different platforms at each campus. When we started with the online platforms, we wanted to kind of like test pilot to see which one would be better. And so there was a preference with the SST coordinators, one where we wanted to try iExcel at Easton and then Dreambox and Amplify at Brooklyn. So we're trying to see which one of these three is the better one and getting which serves our students. And so we're trying to see which one of those three would be the one that we would want to use. And so that's why and so it was an opportunity for us to try different platforms. Okay, sorry, I lost my little arrow. Give me a second. Okay. And so I want to thank everyone for attending this first Friday. We have about 10 minutes, I think, to answer some questions. And please know that if we are unable to answer these questions, we will send responses later on. And thank you again for being here. Ana Maria has dropped a feedback link in the chat. If you can please also fill that out. And if you have any lingering thoughts or wonderings, please contact Ms. Burrington at the East End campus and Senora Constances for the Brooklyn campus. And you can also contact me as well. Okay, I'm gonna stop my screen share.
Maribel, there were two comments
Can you give me
before when you were talking about reading and writing. One is the overall curriculum seems to assume that students have achieved basic reading skills by second grade. It seems that once third grade arrives, it is the teacher who reads to the students. However, some students are still struggling with basic reading skills. Please comment on how this system reaches those students who still not can read by third grade.
Sorry, I'm looking at the question in the chat.
So for students that are struggling with basic reading skills, can you comment on how the system reaches those students who still can't?
Yeah,
read that
I
grade?
see that question. So the reading workshop is designed, as you know, in the language arts block that I talked about, there's different parts of the structure. And so in the reading workshop, the students are taught a strategy or a skill, and then they're either working in small groups or working independently, right? And so when they're in small groups, that's when teachers are working specific with students to address whatever growth areas they may have in reading, right? The read aloud, that is a time when the teacher is reading aloud to students. And the reason why a teacher is reading aloud to students is because it is really important that students are exposed to grade level complex texts. And this is important because we want to make sure that our students are also engaged in grade level complex texts and that they're also learning the comprehension skills that they need to learn as well for that grade level. So that would be the mix of the two. All right. And so, in terms of where students are with different, in their abilities of reading, we have our small group instruction, we have our conferences that we have, but we also do have opportunities where everyone is engaged with grade level skills at the same time too.
I've noticed that there has been no grammar instructions in grades 3 and 4. I have heard that DCI English teachers expect students to know basic grammar rules, rightly so. Please comment why grades 3 to 5 are not receiving English grammar and spelling instruction.
Okay, we do not have an explicit curriculum that teaches grammar or spelling. That is something that is taught and integrated within the writing workshop. And so that's not to say that grammar and spelling is not taught, but we are not explicitly sending spelling lists or telling them that they need to spell or doing grammar. We don't have an explicit curriculum that teaches that. That is something that we're teaching as the students are writing. And we also aren't, as students are writing, they're going through the stages of writing. So they are drafting and then they're revising it. So it's during that revision and editing that those corrections are made, because we also don't want students to not write because they feel that they can't spell or because they're not using the correct sentence structure. We want students to put their ideas out. And then when it's the time for revision and editing, that's when those things are addressed. And if the teacher sees that there is something that's reoccurring in a class, for example, then there would be a lesson to address that. Interventions.
How much do you think
Oh, sorry.
about what kids need to be prepared for the IB mid-years program, which is used at DCI when crafting your curriculum? Do you have curriculum alignment conversations with DCI or other middle schools?
Costanza, I'm sorry, I just want to, can we pause that for a second? Because I'm going through the chat as well, and I see that there's one about interventions. Can we just go to that one first?
Sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, I saw there was something about interventions, and Julia here is going to talk about interventions. And then I don't know if Rebecca's on, then maybe she can address the question about the IB.
Yes, Rebecca's here with me.
Perfect. So Julia, if you don't mind talking a little bit more about interventions, and then Rebecca, if you can address the question about IB.
Sure, absolutely. So interventions are, they take place both inside and outside of classrooms. Teachers with their coaches and the student support team coordinators analyze data for any students who are in need of interventions and plan small group lessons within the classroom. And that's the case for both reading and writing and math, as well as any other sort of behavioral or social emotional interventions. So coupled with that, we also have at both campuses programs for pull-out small group instruction in reading as additional interventions at the moment. So at Brookland, Students in first through third grade have been invited to book clubs in which they play games and do small group activities with the student's SST coordinator, and also have structured time for them to use our program Amplify for reading. And some students in fourth and fifth grade have been invited to participate in what's called Litera, which is an online tutoring program. These decisions were made based on data both from last year and this year's beginning of year assessments. And then at East End, we have something called Springboard, which was open to anybody any families who wanted to participate at East End for some additional reading support, and Litera as well, the online tutoring program. Does that answer your question? Mr. Bose?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I can follow up on the middle school connections. Yes, we have our specific people talking to the DCI middle school program, and because it's a continuum, it's also international baccalaureate. So the approach with the learning is very similar. It's very hands-on, it's very participative. It's students are doing inquiry, but it's by subject. It's not like, it's more middle school kind of, because they have math, reading, and like language, but it's the same concept. And then the students will see the same learner profile. So they will hear the same kind of essential elements in their classes. So they will definitely find a lot of connection between what they experience here and then once they move to middle school at DCI.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'll go back to the question, Maribel. You describe special education services as a full continuum. Can you share more detail about special education services?
Yeah, so it can be anything from pull-outs, push-ins, small groups, outside providers that come in and work with students, or even a self-contained classroom, or just full inclusion. So it's just the full continuum. We offer the full continuum of SPED.
What support do teachers get to meet different learning needs? How do classes address and encourage different learning needs? We asked a teacher a couple of years ago how our child could be challenged more in class, and she said we've had to do that at home.
Okay, thank you for that question, Rachel. I also see you have another question there about grammar. So teachers get a lot of support on how to support different learning needs. You know, they have an instructional coach that they meet with weekly. They have coaching meetings, and we have team meetings. And so there's conversations as well in terms of how they can support their students. In addition, we have our learning specialists who also have a lot of knowledge in terms of working with different learning needs. And so that is also a resource as well. We also have, as I mentioned, our multidisciplinary team too. And so we have our SST coordinators, our dean of students, our school counselors. That whole entire team as well can support teachers with the different learning needs as well.
Can I share one additional thing as well, Maribel?
Yes,
as far as like with differentiation, and like especially for those students who, like you said, need to be challenged, there are specifically interventions built in the curriculum, especially the math curriculum that comes along with interventions, right? Additional activities, different ways to support those that are struggling with this particular skill, and or students that are like, okay, definitely come in and master this skill. There's also additional activities to do to help them improve or to help and challenge them in those areas as well. And then similarly with our reading and writing curriculum, there is a separate entire book as far as like with helping all about with differentiation with like we said, with those that need a little bit more support, and then also those that are there to challenge as well.
It is time, and I am a stickler for time, and I do want to extend, but I also have another meeting that I need to attend to. But I do want to acknowledge that, Rachel, you had a question about grammar. I would love to just know a little bit more about that. So if you can email me and whoever the director of teaching and learning is for your campus so we can find more information about that, please do so. And then the last question here about how do we access resources like high impact tutoring for our kids that are struggling readers? Irma, I see you're here, and Julia, do you mind addressing that question, or can they contact you about that with, if, because I'm assuming that that's more about interventions, maybe?
Well, at the Easton campus, those are actually being offered throughout the day and after school. So it is definitely by need, and you do have to sign up and register. So at Easton after school, 2 to 3 days a week, there is Springboard or SLA that is offered through 2 cycles throughout the entire school year. So we're currently in our 2nd cycle. Unfortunately, I had more students apply than I had teachers available, and there are requirements based on how many kids can be serviced within a group so that it does stay high impact. I do have groups happening throughout the day, again, across math and reading, where those high impact interventions are happening for accelerated learners as well as students that need remediation or additional support. Those groups are smaller, again, like, so there's requirements in terms of how many kids are within a group so that it stays high impact.
No, that's a one.
But again, in terms of the time of the day, it has to be very strategic of how those groups are being planned and when students are being pulled out due to frequency, because we also don't want them to miss what's happening in the classroom with their grade level expectations and requirements as well. But those are the services that are happening at the Easton campus.
Thank you, Irma. Thank you everyone for being here. Senora Donado has dropped a feedback form in the chat. If you can please fill that out. And also, you know, the presentation will be emailed out to you and the recording will be on the website. And feel free, please, if you have any additional wonderings or thoughts that come up after this presentation, email Ms. Burrington for the East End campus, Senora Costanza for the Brooklyn campus, and me as well. All right. And thank you so much for coming, and have a fabulous weekend.
Thank you. And then the question